gonna be on YouTube or something?
It might be. Do you mind it being recorded?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. And
We got a lot of stops today.
there we go. Yeah, we got a couple.
Good.
Yeah. So my name's Steve.
Nice to meet you. I'm Mojo.
Mojo. Nice to meet you, Mojo. MOJL?
Yep. Sorry, they're sweaty. I was hiking.
That's fine. It's to be expected. So what is a strong belief, or a belief which you hold strongly, that you would like to talk about today?
Belief in unseen energy.
Unseen energy.
Like angels and just energy that never dies. Something just said no distractions, so I got focus.
Yeah. So unseen energy and
Angels.
Example, angels.
Or deceased loved ones that live on.
So like angels and ghosts, would you say?
Kind of, but I don't call them ghosts because that has a little scarier.
Okay. So angels slash. I don't think calling them undead would make it sound any fancier.
Energy, life energy
Okay.
that goes on.
So life after death.
Yeah.
Okay. Angels and. So would you say
Just
there's this
life
unseen energy which you believe continues on even after we die?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because, we know that we survive off of something we can't see, breath, air, but we don't see that in the real world. And then I feel like if people tap in instead of tuning in, nowadays everybody's tuned into a TV or tuned into their phones or tuned into some kind of distraction. If they just unplug for a minute, they can be in tune with the unseen energies.
Okay, so.
Cookie, what do you have on your face?
So, are you describing then this is something we can observe if we can remove the noise
If
that
we
is
get rid of the distractions
blocking us
and
from
focus,
seeing
yes.
that this energy is there, that it's observable?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, cool. So that this is observable.
We just did that, yeah.
Did you go all the way up?
Yeah.
How did you like that? Did you get tired?
Okay, so
It's a long walk.
What do you think? Do you like it, Lou?
Did you like the view?
on a scale of 0 to 100%,
Man.
0 being you absolutely do not believe under any circumstances that this energy exists, and 100% being you absolutely no questions, like nothing could change your mind level of confidence that
100.
the unseen energy does exist.
100.
You would be at 100%. That's a high confidence.
Absolutely. When I'm sitting in my little apartment in Hollywood and I feel energy around me, I've learned how to tap into that energy, and I literally, you know how people get chills on the back of their neck or something happens, and sometimes you can feel something in the room, but you don't see anything. So I've tried to learn how to channel that energy and find out who's trying to communicate with me, and it's really weird, but I one time opened up my blank Word document on my computer, and I felt that weird feeling like somebody was in my apartment and I'm the only one there, and I don't do drugs, I don't drink, rarely, but I wasn't drinking at that time, and I felt energy, so I said, who is this? And it said Billy, which was my mother's best friend that had just passed away a year before this happened.
This was an audible voice?
And a telepathic voice, so I didn't hear a voice like loud, it came through my mind. So it's telepathic.
Okay.
Like telepathy, like you just kind of get like a knowing. So I said Billy, and I said, immediately I said, what's it like on the other side? So I'm writing this on a Word document. And I felt the energy come through my hand. It literally talked to me up here, and then it released through tears. So I said, what's it like on the other side? He said, it's great. I said, what do you want me to tell my mom? He said, tell her I love her, I miss her, I'm always thinking of her. And then he said something about a red truck, and then I just started crying for no reason. So the energy came through my hand, talked to me telepathically, and left through tears. And I called my mom and told her about it, and she was pretty surprised, but she's a little psychic or in tune herself. So she said that, Melissa, she's in Indiana, by the way, I'm in California. She said, Melissa, you don't know this, but your dad and I were arguing yesterday. After Billy died, his family gave us his red truck, and we were arguing whether we should sell it or not. And I'm 2,100 miles away. So, and I didn't know anything about a red truck. But that, to me, clarifies that I'm not crazy, and there's validation that there is energy that lives on, and energy never dies. And maybe there's a lot of messages that are waiting for people that they just got to tap into.
Okay.
But it's scary. Like, you feel the little chills or you feel the hand tingle, and it's scary. I didn't want to do it, but I protect myself, make sure it's good energy. And then all of a sudden, my mom's best friend came through that died a year before that happened.
Okay, so you had this experience where your mom's friend who had passed away seemed to cause you to have chills and feel presence, and then have a conversation internally with him that was like a psychic connection, and he said something about the red truck. But
That was it. Like,
you
there
didn't
was
understand what he
yeah,
meant
there was
by a red
nothing.
truck.
It just said red truck. Like,
Okay.
and I had no idea.
And then the next day you told your parents about it, and it turns out that they were talking about his red truck
Just the day before.
just the day before.
And
Well,
for the
not-
last
so
5
the day
days,
before the event happened.
the day before I had talked to
Okay.
my mom, like literally, I guess as it was happening with he and I's conversation, they were talking about the red truck. So, and then my mom also told me that the last 5 days she had been crying her eyes out, wondering why he didn't listen to her, because she had some kind of epiphany that something bad was going to happen to him, and it was just all this stuff. She was wondering why, he'd left so soon, and just all and he came through to get a message to her, because maybe she was blocked or not feeling those tingles or doing anything about it, but I was kind of open and not as scared. My new word for this year and next is being fearless, because if you can overcome your fears, sometimes there's so much more waiting for you.
Interesting. So, if situations like the one you described didn't happen to you,
It'd be hard to believe unless it happens to you.
Do you think you would not believe?
Absolutely. It sounds
that-
crazy
that-
to me. Like, it sounds surreal. Until it happens to you, or you're open just to the thought that it could be true, because there's so many stories. Honestly, if that red truck validation wasn't there, I would have been like, okay, whatever, this is freaky. Like,
So if your parents hadn't confirmed something,
had
the
they
next
not
day-
validated it, I would have just let it go by the wayside. So I guess if people are into this unseen energy, ask for a validation.
Okay.
And I didn't ask for it; he gave it to me.
So,
Like,
so you find that this is something observable.
we can't see it. I mean, you can
Well,
feel it.
Feelings and observation, right?
Yeah, you can feel it. Yeah.
So they're not necessarily like like just seeing light with their eyes. Just lots of things can be observed
Right.
without necessarily the sensory that we have. Like, we make things to help detect.
And
right?
everybody sees differently too, probably.
Right. So, and if that sort of event never happened, you wouldn't believe in this unseen energy.
I think with my mentality, I'd be open to it, and when I honestly believe that a belief is just a thought you keep thinking. So if you're open to the existence of energy never dying or angels and so forth, then you might be more prone to see more of it or hear more of it. Or
And so, in general, when people hold a belief, do you feel there's a virtue or value to a person being able to like, so if they heard your story and thought that this unseen energy was not likely what you think it is, or that it was not that it was just imagined somehow. I'm not saying that it was.
but if
But
they
started off
if
with
they
that,
found it
with that
unbelievable.
belief, right? Would you see it virtue on their
I would
part?
say wait till it happens to you. Yeah.
Would you see it a virtue on their part of being willing to investigate their position and be willing to change their mind if they were to see new evidence or a new argument concerning
I would
whether or
hope
not unseen energy
that they would
is
be
real?
intelligent enough to be open to the possibility.
So being open is a virtue of intelligence.
Yeah, exactly.
Being able to have your mind change is a good thing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. So, if it were the case that unseen energy was not real, and I'm not sure how exactly, because I'm not saying that it isn't, but just hypothetically, if this unseen energy was not a real thing, can you imagine?
And how are we breathing?
Can
That's
you,
unseen energy, right?
Well, I'm speaking specifically about this energy in regards to like afterlife or.
But that's
after,
still life energy. Like life energy is coming through us, but nobody can explain where that air and breath comes from.
So scientists can't explain where air and breath comes from?
Maybe, but there's still a lot that's unexplained. And because we can't see it, I'm just saying I believe more in unseen energy than
Right.
the average person.
Right. So I'm just trying to get to the question.
Okay.
Is if it were the case that unseen energy was not a real thing and that there was some misunderstanding that was had in these sorts of events, would there be a kind of evidence that you can imagine yourself discovering that would cause you to question if this unseen energy concept was real?
I don't know of any other way to explain a red truck, and I'm 2,100 miles away, and my mom's crying her eyes out about her best friend.
If there was a way to explain the red truck, would you be open to the possibility?
I'd be
that
open
it
to
might not?
understanding how did that message come through me, and I'm sitting in my apartment in Hollywood. Is there maybe there's a maternal connection or something, but that's still unseen energy. We're still coming back to the same premise of belief.
Is it the same thing? Like, is there no way to parse out a distinction between energy as maybe say a physicist would define it, right? Like force times distance pushed against the force. Is there a way to make a distinction between that definition of energy and the other forms which you're referring to, like when it comes to afterlife or spirit energy, maybe not perhaps being the physical energy concept that a physicist might be talking about?
I'm no physicist.
But
I think science is on the breaking point or the edge of like figuring all that out. Like I've read that like science is able to study when people die. They actually see some of the soul energy leaving, and like we're just now starting to get access to information like that. So I don't know how to explain it, but my strongest belief is that I believe energy never dies, and there's a life energy that goes on. And if you're open to it, you can hear it.
Okay, so when a physicist makes an equation to define energy as this sort of
motion or
like,
power.
like
or whatever.
first law, energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It's always transferred to different forms.
That kind of.
But do you think that same
Backs my
energy in your belief of what the unseen energy is, do you think that would hold
True.
the same equation to define itself?
Yeah, if it just transfers form, that makes that goes along with my belief.
So like in a way would you expect that someone could potentially tap into the energy of someone in the afterlife?
Absolutely.
And use it as a fuel?
as a message, I mean, I did with my mom's
No,
best friend.
I don't mean motivation. I mean, I'm talking like a distinction between, if there is a distinction between the physicality and the...
Maybe that's where our
and
energy
perhaps
comes
another phenomenon you're describing. So would I be able to consume a spirit in my gas tank?
Isn't that what sunshine
Hypothetically.
is? I mean, when you come, like, literally before on my hike, I'm sitting there staring at the sun, and I'm a poet by trade, and one of my favorite passages is, "'Tis not what you crave that feeds your soul, 'tis my sunshine right after the rain, when my ravishing rays unfold." So it's saying you might eat these berries, but there's only a little bit of my sunshine in those berries. But yet, if you just stare at the sun right after sunrise or right before sunset, you're feeding your soul more than you know. Like, there's that unseen energy that you're tapping into, but we can actually see the sun, so that's kind of cool.
Right.
But maybe there's still
But-
unseen energy there.
But
That's
you're
a little
not
deep, I
you're
know.
not arguing though that if someone stands in the sun, then they are generating
There was
glucose in their bloodstream as a plant generates.
You're getting energy,
glucose.
yeah.
Well, sugar. I mean specifically
Right.
the chemical in as it is in plants. And
I
then
don't
we
know.
eat
I haven't.
plants.
I'm not a scientist of
Okay.
the body, but I'm sure it does something because it makes me run faster after I stare at the sun. I don't
Okay.
know. It gives me a little power.
And sorry, just to be clear, you couldn't imagine if someone else would have a would how someone else could have evidence that would convince you otherwise?
The energy just that's sort of what my dad believes. Like, when you die, your energy just goes in the ground, or it doesn't even go anywhere. It just like disappears. And for me, that's hard to believe. That's why I sat down and I said my strongest belief is energy never dies, it just transfers.
Can something be hard to believe, but also still be true?
We don't know.
You don't know?
I mean, from so many stories of people like seeing the light or having conversations with deceased loved ones or it happening to yourself, in my world, and I can't fathom energy dissipating. Like, it just changes form. Yes, I'm open to it being possible, but I don't see that. I'm 99% sure energy never dies.
So you're 99%.
Only because of my experiences in life. And somebody else could sit here right before me or right after me and say, when you're dead, you're dead. Da, 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 da. But I know for a fact in my life, I've gotten messages from deceased loved ones. It's kind of crazy, but it's kind of awesome. Like, just to know that I didn't ask for it. It just came to me because I'm cleansed. I do the master cleanse like twice a year. I don't bog my body down with clog it up or anything. I'm a clear conduit of energy, and energy flows.
You do want to keep your mind open to the possibility that you could be wrong?
I'm open to it, but I know for a fact in my lifetime that it's no. I'd love to see I wouldn't love to see the evidence because I'm kind of happy with knowing you can still communicate with deceased loved ones.
Ultimately, would you say that you are more comfortable? Would you prefer? I'll say. Would you prefer to believe something that is false but comforting, or something that is
True and uncomfortable.
but uncomfortable?
True and uncomfortable.
You would prefer that?
Yeah. But I think we all seek our own truths, and they say seek and you will find. And sometimes when you just feel energy around you so much, I don't know why, I guess it's maybe in my family or something, but we can feel energy around us. And so I learned how to tap into it, and I don't know. I don't know how to explain it.
Well, I'd be interested in asking more questions if you're willing, but the timer ran out, so
It's the never-ending moment of now.
Never-ending moment of now. Okay. Does that mean you would like that?
That
to
means
keep talking?
keep going.
Okay.
What questions do you have?
Okay. Let me think. So would you say that things which are true despite whether or not we believe them to be true?
No, because I think belief is a thought you keep thinking, and then if you believe in something, that is your found truth. Like,
So if we walk to the Griffith Observatory,
Right.
you and I, and we follow the same path going there.
right.
And when we got to the top, someone asked, say, how far is it back to the bridge, the intersection at the bottom of the hill? And we both gave them significantly different answers. Can we both be true?
Absolutely.
Or can both
Because
answers
of our
be
beliefs
true?
are different and our measurements are different. Absolutely.
So you could
Because
say,
in your world, it might be true to be 200 steps down or up to the observatory. But in my observation, it might be 180 steps.
Is-
That's both true.
Is that a difference in how we define the difference of a step, or the distance of a step, or is that a difference in the actual distance?
I think both. Because in your mind, like, one might think it's farther, or one might think it's it's shorter. I think it still comes down to belief. Like,
And the belief itself makes things true?
not makes it true, but what you believe strongly in, I think.
People can believe in false things, right?
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
And so if it happened to be
That's
the
why-
case that you believe something that was false, you would feel more, you would prefer, it's hard to pick a good adjective for that, you would prefer, even if it was uncomfortable, to know the truth about that
The truth.
claim.
But the truth is always going to be different for each person. Based on your beliefs and based on where you come from and based on everything. It all comes down to what you think about most is what you get.
How would you say that works for people who believe in false things? Because you said that people believe in false things too.
Like an example, what?
Well,
Angels or dead people? I mean,
Well, I just mean, what would be an example of something that you think...
that I think is false?
If someone believed it to be true, they would be believing in something that was false.
Oh, I know there's some examples. Maybe like limitations or something like that. Like where sometimes friends or family members might think that's impossible. I mean, clearly
Like if
some things are
their
possible. It's
belief
just,
was holding them back from being able
Absolutely.
to succeed at something because
Absolutely.
they believed they couldn't succeed, even
Right.
though it was well within their possibility of succeeding.
right. The only limits are the ones you give yourself.
So that sort of a belief can be false, even though the person believes it to be true.
Point being, oh my
Correct.
little sister said,
Right?
you know,
I would agree.
We're
I would
getting
agree.
deep and going in circles, but yeah,
Right.
it all comes back to thought. And literally on some of my social media pages, it says, think only what you choose to experience.
So if I had a person that I knew who believed that they couldn't, let's say, that they could never pass a particular course in chemistry or whatever it is, the challenge,
Then they
felt
won't.
that they couldn't.
Think you'll fail, and you will.
But we would maybe agree that that their belief that they couldn't, that it's impossible, is still false, right?
Right.
So
But to them, it's true, and that's why
Would
they'll
there-
probably fail.
would there be a way that you think you could show them that their belief is false?
Well, probably the 99 other people in their class that are passing
Right.
would be proof.
Right? Mm-hmm. And so so that would be one sort of piece of evidence, right?
It all comes down to change your thoughts and change your life. Like, the only limits are the ones you give yourself. And so why not believe in the unseen? Why not go dream big? Don't just dream big, dream huge. You know, the only limits are the ones you give yourself.
Now, similarly, on the other side of the spectrum, if I had a friend who believed that they literally could fly without wings, without an aircraft.
There's
And-
squirrel suits out there, man. They're flying every day.
Well, let's say in this hypothetical, we're talking about a person who's ready to jump off a building
No
with
squirrel suit.
with no squirrel suit or
I
parachute.
hope they meditated for like a couple years and.
you wouldn't say
I wouldn't
that's
say
a
it's.
false
I
belief
wouldn't
that
say.
you'd want to
I wouldn't
challenge?
say it's impossible. No.
Really?
I would say
Would you want
God
them
be
to test
God
it?
be with you, and I hope you meditated enough to like get in the zone.
You wouldn't discourage them from testing it,
Would I discourage them?
or at least testing it from
I don't
from
think
a high
any.
platform.
I don't think anyone should. I don't think we should judge where any other soul is. If it's their choice to jump off a building and believe they can fly, then let them believe they can fly. I mean, I don't want them to die, but like if they truly believed and they like meditated for 10 years and knew that they could walk on water or jump off a building,
But
Lord
if they-
knows they might prove the impossible.
But if they didn't do any of those things, and that they felt they could fly and wanted to prove it by jumping off a building,
I
is
would
that
I would
something
want to
you'd
know that they're
convince them that
mentally sound first.
you'd want to test their mental stability.
I'd want to make sure they're in. I think that's a little extreme example, but like if you're in the
That-
zone,
yeah.
the zone, who's to say you can't fly? If we were really tapped in and tuned in, who's to say we can't? Everything that once was impossible has been proved possible. So who's to say 20 years from now people won't be able to telepathically teleport themselves and walk off a building and end up in another state or
Okay.
something like that?
So, but in such a situation, there would be
In fact, they're probably already doing it because I just watched a YouTube video the other day about it.
in such a situation, there would be the kind of people that you could see are being reasonable in how they go about making that possible, and would start with shorter platforms than others, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another type of individual, more close to what I'm saying, like if we're talking about somebody who we can confirm has or we can at least perceive as having a false belief. They did nothing to meditate. They want
If
their
they're just
first,
out drinking and say, "Hey, I can fly," I'll be like,
Right.
"Buddy, get down."
or they could be potentially not uncertain from our vantage point, but potentially they could be mentally unstable, and
that's a big difference.
it would seem
Yeah.
irrational to be the person that wants to jump from a high platform first to prove such a point, right?
That's a big difference.
Right.
Yes.
And so for that
No.
sort of person, it would be important to want to
Because they probably
change their mind.
already would look in a mirror and know it's unbelievable. But if
Mm-hmm.
themselves
Mhm.
in that situation, if they were unstable or what have you, they're probably already looking in the mirror and saying, there's like this doubt there. But
Do you
if
think
someone,
mentally unstable people tend to know that they're mentally unstable? Is that what you mean?
no, we're not going there.
Okay.
No. No.
It's a good conversation, and I just don't want to hold you here in the cold. If you do want to cut things shorter, if you want to.
What's the biggest question you want to answer to for me?
Well, so maybe probably a better idea right now would be to sort of explain what we're all about, and then sort of get your feedback on it, because I think we've had a good conversation.
Yeah,
so
and I
far,
have
very
no clue
successful.
what you guys are
Did
studying.
did you enjoy it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Awesome.
Cool.
So we're interested in we're kind of philosophy enthusiasts.
Okay.
We're interested in getting to know what people think and why they think that.
I love it.
And also,
I want to watch it.
yeah. Well, if it does go up on YouTube, if you want to leave some contact info,
Sure.
we can make sure that you know about it when it
Okay.
does. Yeah, here.
So why are you doing the study?
So, in a lot of cases, when people talk about things that they disagree on very strongly with others, I find that conversations are hard to form. Like, it's really hard to have a civil dialogue with somebody who believes something completely different than you believe. But if you're not able to have that dialogue with someone who believes something that's completely different from what you believe, then it prevents you from potentially learning that you might be wrong if you are wrong.
True.
So I've been like my enthusiasm for this whole concept, we call it street epistemology, has been in that I want to promote rationalism, just the ability to stop and go, what are ways in which we can
Learn
question
from someone else too.
Right, learn from others and question what we believe and be consistent about how we make our argumentation. Like, so oftentimes someone's able to see the fallacy in someone else's view, not realizing that they hold the exact same fallacy for their own view.
Right.
And so any question that I can come up with that would perhaps challenge where you're coming from, challenge what you believe, as long as I can show not only was I able to ask you that question, but you enjoyed answering, as opposed to being put on the defensive and going like, well, that's just what I believe and climbing up about it.
I think the more someone is standoffish about it, the more they're, I don't know if they are open to other possibilities.
Yeah, I find that to be unfortunate.
The more open-minded you are, I think
Exactly.
the more you're just, hey, it could happen, it happened to me, this is why I believe what I do.
And I also find that most often it's the case, well, it kind of surprised me to discover this through street epistemology, that even though I can be completely disagreeing with you about what is real, even like what is right in front of us, whether the table is real, whether the timer is real, something substantial that I can test and verify, and you and I can be completely differing on what those things are or what's actually there, no matter how directly observable or debunkable. Yet, if we have a conversation about the fundamentals of what makes things rational, makes for a rational argument versus an irrational argument, there tends to be this thing, I think, in human nature, that we tend to be rational beings. And so when we're talking about those fundamentals, before we talk about our conclusions, like what we label ourselves as, I'm a Christian, I'm an atheist, I'm a, take your pick. Before we talk
labels away.
Yeah, before we even get to the labels, we're disagreeing, or we're in complete agreement usually about how to come to true beliefs, or what is virtuous about wanting to believe in true things and to not believe in false things. So that sort of chance to reflect.
I love it. I can't wait to watch it.
I have no qualm or misgivings over you and I walking away with different conclusions, because what I find is much more important is knowing that you're going to go home and think about what you believe. And you're going to enjoy
I live in my world,
it in
you
a
live
question.
in your world, but it's nice when they collide and you get to know other people's thoughts, and that's what the playground's here. The playground, we're here on the playground called Earth to see the contrast. And when you can see beauty in everything you see, then you're truly living life. Like, even if they don't believe in the angels, or even if they don't believe what I believe, as long as you can see that contrast and see the beauty in it, that's what life's about.
And I found that too, when there are people who hold beliefs that I find are extremely difficult for me to accept. Like,
it helps you know more of who you are, though, too.
I've even had such a discussion with someone who is overtly racist. They really believe that their race, their culture is supreme above all other beings, especially those from Africa on the planet. And
that's
no matter how disgusting
just say,
I
cut
think
your
that
skin,
belief
we
is,
all bleed the same color.
Right. But no matter how disgusting I found his belief, I found he
learned
himself,
something.
by expressing why he believed it, gave me an opportunity to see another human being and really understand him for who he was.
And maybe by expressing it and seeing that, like, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Because, like, for example, if I go to a website and it says, a certain color association, and I'm just like, well, I really was interested in this topic. Why are you excluding me? It's like, why can't it be a human association, not just a... But I get it. People want to feel part of a community, but you know what? We're all humans. Why not make it all?
Yeah.
All
Humanism.
for us.
That's something I stand for as well. So, I'll, if you don't mind, I can share some contact information with you in regards to if you want to look more into street epistemology at all, or watch some other similar
I like
videos.
the name. Is that the term for, like, doing street interviews or something?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
epistemology is the philosophy of knowledge.
I like it.
coming to a question of, do we know this? Do we know that? How do we
We
know
don't
it?
know anything. We just
Right.
think we do.
Do we know that we know that we don't know anything?
Some people don't know. Don't know that they don't know.
Right?
Right.
So those are the questions that come up.
Is there a
often.
website you can write down for me?
Yes,
or,
absolutely.
Okay. Or a YouTube channel?
Yes. It's not our YouTube channel, but it's a great place to start. Is
Okay.
If you look for Magna Bosco on YouTube. He's inspired a lot of our methods here,
Okay.
as well as so the book that came up with the idea is called A Manual for Creating Atheists. It's really, the title's more of a bait and switch to go from, actually, this is how you create street epistemologists so that people can actually have open dialogue
That's
with those who
interesting.
disagree. So I'll write that down for you.
So this is kind of on the atheist topic, I guess. I recently asked myself, how do I know that there is a God? I grew up not going to churches or anything. No, I don't claim any religion. I claim being spiritual. But I asked myself recently, because I do a lot of journaling and channeling and poetry, I said, how do I know there is a God? And telepathically I wrote down, remember yesterday when you were at the pool, when you saved that bumblebee, that was me putting you in the right place at the right time. My name, Melissa, means bumblebee or honeybee. So that was, I asked for validation and I got it. I don't know what that means, but there you go.
Awesome. I think that's really awesome that you are willing to look into ways to
Thanks, guys. I know you're doing work behind the scenes, so.
rethink your beliefs and always be open to
Always
changing your
open.
beliefs, giving new arguments and new information. And I encourage you to
Is your full name? What's your last name? Steve, right?
Parker. Yes.
Pucker? P-U-C-K?
Parker.
Oh, Parker. I was like, pucker up. No, that's cute. Well, very nice to meet you.
Great meeting you, Mojo.
And if you'll email me any details about it, that's awesome. I'd love to watch.
Awesome.
So thank you.
Have a good day.
All right.
Good day. Good
You
night.
too. Bye, guys.
Sounds like you